In this tutorial, we are going to take a look on what is exactly a salt. When we say a salt, it is always going to be neutral. Or would the salt be acidic? Or would the salt be basic? How do we determine if the salt would make a solution basic or acidic? This is the goal of this tutorial. So here we have a simple acid-base reaction. And you should be very familiar with this reaction. We have sodium hydroxide mixing with hydrochloric acid. And the products are sodium chloride and water. So in our very first day of learning acid and base, we learned that when we mix a base and an acid together, we will make salt and water. Okay? And we would like to focus on the salt. When we look at the salt here, I want you to dissect the salt and to show you what we can learn from this compound. So when we look at NaCl, sodium chloride right here, so we would like to find out where does the sodium ion come from? Where does the chloride ion come from? Now with the equation given right here, it makes a very simple task to understand where would it come from. So sodium ion is coming from sodium hydroxide, and the chloride ion is coming from hydrochloric acid. Okay. Now, the next question we would like to ask is that would the salt change the pH or react with the water? Now, if there's a reaction, we call that reaction hydrolysis because it's going to split the water into either hydrogen ion or hydroxide ion. This is why we have the term hydrolysis. So to determine whether it would have a reaction with the water, first we find out where did they come from. After we find out where did they come from, we would like to find out, well, is the acid and base where they came from, are they strong or are they weak? So we understand that this is a strong base, this is a strong acid. How does it help? Well, if this is a strong base, this will be the conjugate of this strong base. So first thing we know, it is an acid. And since this is strong, the conjugate will be weak. So we have a weak acid. On the other hand, we have a strong acid. So the conjugate will be a base, and it will be a weak base. And because both of these ions are so weak, then they will not have a reaction with the water. So this is how we approach the salt and to determine whether a salt will make a solution neutral, acidic, or basic. Now here comes another example. Let me have an eraser. Okay, another example that I have here is ammonium bromide. Now for those of you who just learned about this, you have no clue at all by just looking at this compound. So we have to analyze this compound step by step. So first, let's split this in half. Okay, so we understand this is the ions. And next, we would like to find out where did they come from? Okay, what makes these two ions? So for NH4, it is coming from NH3. Okay, so this is a weak base. For the bromide ion, it's coming from HBr. This is a strong acid. After we find out where do they come from, we can now find out the strength of these two ions. If this is a weak base, the conjugate of a weak base would be a strong acid. The conjugate of a strong acid is a weak base. And now we have the strength of these two ions. Now, to make something clear is that when we say it is a strong acid, it is just relatively relatively stronger. This strong acid is nowhere near to the strength of these strong acids. Okay, it is strong, but it's not as strong as the HCl, HBr, or HI. So, but this is strong enough to react with the water. So what's going to happen? So we have ammonium ion reacting with the water. Okay. And we find out that this is a strong acid. So let me label it so it becomes much clearer. For an acid to qualify to be an acid, it must be a proton donor. It has to donate or give away a proton, or hydrogen ion, H+. So what's going to happen is that NH4+, the ammonium ion, is going to give away a proton. So who's going to get it? The water is going to get the proton. So water in this case will be a base. And then what are the products? If NH4+ give away the proton, it becomes NH3. Okay. And after the water takes away a proton, it becomes H3O+. Okay, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to put it there. So this is how we understand it's going to make the solution acidic, because we can see that it is producing the H3O+, the hydronium ion. This is the ion that would affect the pH of the solution. Since we have hydronium ion, it's going to make the solution acidic, and we can say that this salt is an acidic salt because it will make a solution acidic. So just keep in mind, whenever you are presented with the salt, you have to analyze the salt, the ions of the salt, and then you find out where do they come from to analyze the strength and the strength of the conjugate. And then you will have a clue whether or not you will have a reaction with the water and to make either an acidic solution or a basic solution.